Okay, we are live, but we must let it breathe just for a moment. Got to bring on Facebook, and then we're going to get things cooking. An exciting day, if nothing else. An exciting day for Broncos country. Interesting development. Still in defeat, but we'll get into that. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me is Scott Kennedy, the producer extraordinaire / co-host of Broncos for Breakfast. We're just waiting for Zach to get in here. We're going live a little bit early because I have a few things going on tonight. So I wanted to get to you now. Instead of making it a short episode, I'm like, no, let's just go live. And then when Zach gets here, he'll pop in. But Scott, bro, thanks for joining me on short notice.
Hey, I'm here. You might as well put me to work.
That's right. Might as well use you. You're here. Put me in, coach. But what do you make of today's game? What's your gut reaction?
I said earlier, on Thursday or Friday, one of the shows, at this point in the season, there really are no moral victories. You know, it's just not. There's too close. And every single one of these games has been so close. They're just gut-wrenching for the Denver Broncos. And I think, if anything, if I wanted to take the brightest of bright sides of all these close losses, it means I'm not that far away. I'm really not. I'm not far away from turning this thing around. It's a play here, a play there. But the problem is, Chad, it seems like it's something else. I know the offense has been bad for most of the year. Okay, I know that. But then the special teams breaks down, or the defense lets one go at the end or something. So when that happens, and you've got, especially when you start adding up all these penalties, that means the top. That means the top's got to go. When it's something like that, that means I don't think you're gonna. Nathaniel Hackett has a chance of saving his job by any stretch of the imagination. But it was fun. This game was exciting again, and that was at least fun, for God's sakes.
Yeah. There was about a 2-quarter stretch there where it was like, wow, this is what football's supposed to be, the back and forth scoring.
There was about a 17-minute stretch, Chad. We were like, oh my God.
It's like, could it be?
No. The other way. Where it was like, my God, it's going to be a hundo. They're going to drop 100 on you.
What was it, 27? They get up to, was it 27?
And
Nothing?
A pick six, and the radio call on it that made it sound like it was so dejected. It was the radio call was, it's tipped up in the air, and Gay just stiff arms and Russell Wilson to the ground, and he just walks into the end zone untouched. It's 27-0, bro. And then the difference then, with Jeudy catching a touchdown pass and coming back into the game, it was definitely a much more fun game. I say that as a neutral, and I know there's going to be some angry people in here that you're falling short again. And like I said, the brightest of bright sides, I'm a contrarian. If you came in here all pissed off, I'm going to give you the happy. And if you come in here all happy, I'm going to piss you off, is that you're just not that far away. This team is not that far away. There can be a quick bounce back with the right. As much as gone wrong, Chad.
Yep.
31 of 32 field goals have been made against you this year. That's unheard of. And the hamstring injuries, the radio guys are they're done. They're done with it.
Leading the league in was it ACLs or hammies? I think both, actually.
Maybe both. You know who's leading the league tonight? Deanna, for sure. Coming in hot pink, coming in fuchsia. So we lost, but it was at least a great game. Best we have played this year. Proud of the Broncos. And at this point, when you're 3-9, are you not entertained? At least, at least let's have some fun with it. I know it sucks to lose again, but there was at least there were times where you're like, oh yeah, this is why I like watching football. And then you're reminded why, oh yeah, this is why I don't like watching it right now.
3 takeaways. And you're going, hey, if you get 3 takeaways against, was it 3? At least 3 interceptions. I'm trying to remember if there was a phone. 3 takeaways against the Chiefs.
It was
and
3.
You scored 28
had
points.
2 and Surtain had 1.
If you score 28 and you get 3 takeaways, you're thinking, if you didn't watch the game and that's all someone told you, you're like, pretty sure we finally won this one. Nah, wasn't quite enough, just because the hole, Scott, they dug that early. And by the way, Deanna, love you, appreciate you, thank you so much. Patriot Tech saying, nice to see the fight. Too bad it came after it was 27-0. I'll take Jeudy any day. He can ball, and he has some fire. Imagine what we could do with an O-line that could block MHH for life. Appreciate you, dog. I got to tell you, Scott, it felt good to see Jerry Jeudy have himself a day. This guy's been just like kind of shut out this year after a sophomore year as a pro where he was literally shut out from the end zone. How'd you feel about Jeudy today?
I felt like if you decide to move him, he just upped his value for you. That's what I'm thinking is, okay, great. You want to keep him. Okay. That's one thing. But if you want to move on from him in the offseason, that 3rd round pick went to more than that, whatever you might get for him. So again, a good, someone playing well is always good for you. That's always a good thing, whether or not you want to keep him. Hey, listen, these are too far and few in between. We're done with this guy. We see what he's like every day, because the series before that, what's your play-by-play guy's name on radio?
Dave Logan.
Dave was saying it was a series before that. It was a 3-and-out or something. Jeudy's come off. He's ripped his helmet off. He's really pissed off. And then they went to him the next. So maybe it's the squeaky wheel thing that kind of displays a lack of leadership too. Mm-hmm. But if Jeudy's a diva wide receiver, okay, well, if he's producing like he is, you don't mind that. If he's not, on a bad team, that's a problem. On a good team, so what? There's been a lot of divas out there. But if you decide you need to move on from Jerry Jeudy in the offseason, this was a very good thing. And Patriot Tex, I think what we figured out what Patriot Tex wants, he wants Jeudy to stick around. And I can see that for sure.
It was the singular biggest impact a wide receiver had on a Broncos game this year. That is for sure. Chris Hernandez always jumping in on a gut reaction, which we do not take for granted, with a symbolic super chat. The biggest super chat on the gut reaction from Chris this season, because the Broncos actually came close to scoring 30 points. They finished with 28. Chris, love you, big dog. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Still loving that YouTube profile pic, by the way, my dog. But yeah, it was good to see. I mean,
Chris has been a cheap date up until now. Chris, Broncos got expensive on you tonight. It's like taking me out and I don't drink. I'm like, that'll be $12 for your meal. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'm a cheap date. Hey, got expensive. Chris ordered the wine tonight.
That he did. The Broncos, Scott, it seems like this would be incorrect, but it's not. You trust NFL stats and information. They had 320 total net yards. And those scoring drives they had, I guess when you realize that a couple of them were on short fields because of Josie Jewell, it felt like the Broncos produced more than 320 yards, but alas, they didn't. They went 6 of 17 on 3rd down. That's 35%.
It's an improvement.
It is an improvement. It's still not where you want to be, but it's an improvement. And guess what, Scott? This is going to blow your mind. 3 for frickin' 3 in the red zone.
That's a statistical anomaly. You know what else is a statistical anomaly? I'd love to see the rest of the stats for the rest of the league and how this works. And BK coming in and says, I gained some respect for Russ after that run. He put his body on the line, and it cost him. It did. It cost him at least another week.
That knot on his head
cost him this week.
That knot was kind of gnarly. You could see him coming off the sideline. He was pacing. He's trying to – this dude wanted to stay in the game. He was battling to not come off the field, but NFL rules are what they are for player safety. Anyway, he had this goose egg right about here over his right eye, right under his hairline, where his helmet impacted into the turf. It was a pretty tough hit. And you're right. Props to him. He sold out to get that first down. And if he doesn't, Broncos don't get 6 on that possession that, of course, Rypien had to finish for him.
One of the things I would like to see is the rest of the stats for the rest of the league, because they were telling a stat that the Broncos now have been sacked 9 times on 1st down, on 1st and 10. So you're starting on 9 of your drives this season. You're automatically starting on 2nd and 19. And I know there's more 1st downs than any other down. Okay, I know that. So, you might get a 1st down. How often are the Broncos getting a 1st down on 1st down? 1st down for this team is usually followed by 2nd down. So to give up that many sacks when your run pass split is at best 50-50, and to start in a hole like that, and 1st down passes should be easy, because that's the down that's most obviously not obvious. It's going to be a run or a pass. You'd think 3rd and long, 3rd and 5 or longer, you're going to give up most of your sacks.
Yeah.
9 times, man. Yep. You're sacked on 1st down. So that was another one of those crazy, just stacking up all the stuff that's gone wrong this year. The stuff that's going 31 for 32 on field goals. That's insane. Mm-hmm. The injuries, it's this team's not as far away as the record makes it feel.
The play calling to open this game was so atrocious. Not to say that the execution was any better, but man, it was about as transparent as you could get. Easy for the Chiefs early on to anticipate what the Broncos were doing. And then they got into a groove and caught them on their heels. And they started doing things from an execution standpoint that we had not seen all year. Patriot Techs, appreciate you, bro. Got to have better coaching in an O-line to be a competitive team, period. Go for Sean Payton as head coach and bring hope to the people. We'll talk more about that today. Naj, bro, love you. Very generous. You the man. You a prince. He says, I'm so proud of the team. Russ played his best game and showed Broncos country how much winning does mean to him. Jeudy, fantastic. This is so reassuring that with the rebuild of the O-line and another playmaker on offense, we will be back next year. The other caveat here is new coach. You got to get the right head coach here because, hey, it is encouraging, Scott, to see that this offense can do something, right? Like the stars align. Hey, the Broncos had a nice run there on 3 consecutive possessions where you're like, whoa, this is badass. This is the way it's supposed to be. But that should be status quo. You know, that type of
surprising.
That ability to strike whenever and sustain drives and convert on third down, it shouldn't be the exception to the rule. Now, for us right now, hey, we're going to take it. It made for an exciting game, came close, threatened the Chiefs, almost snapped the streak. We'll see what happens at Arrowhead. But, Scott, I think in order to harness that outbreak of production that we saw today and turn it into, the rule, not the exception, it's going to take the right coaching emphasis. And I just don't think Nathaniel Hackett has it. He saved his job like 27-0. I was like, there's no way the Broncos don't fire him tomorrow if it continues like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I said they were about to hang 100.
Yeah. It was,
on you. It was crazy.
Dude, it showed.
Naj, love you. The eternal optimism, because there's the other side of this is Sean coming in, and Sean says, with all due respect, and in return, because I'm calling you out on this one, but again, this isn't malicious. We've been saying we're so close, just a quick bounce back for 7 years. 7! In that time, each year we fall further behind in the NFL. This is not fun by any means, nor entertaining. But Sean, without hope, there's no reason to watch. There really isn't. I'm glad you're here, and we're glad you're doing this. But if you don't have any hope and see any possible way out of this, I've said I figured this out in college when I was 0% of passing a test. None. I was completely calm. Man, there is a complete sense of calm and utter doom. Yeah. I have 0 chance. You get wound up because of the hope, and then you get disappointed because of the hope.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you want to look at the ultimate bright side of this team, there's so many things little things that have added up and big things that have added up, and you're just right there. And I'm not talking about make a Super Bowl run next year. But there's, if you finish 4-13, you could make a 5-6 game swing that wouldn't be out of the question to turn into a 10-7 and 9-8 and get it bouncing back in the right direction. So I get it, Sean. I do. And Jacob Foster coming in with the stars. Appreciate you. The silent one for sure. Mac Dog coming in green. He says, actually proud of this team tonight. Played tough, felt bad for us. I think we could have won that game if he had kept playing. It was all heart. And then real quick, and then I'm going to dip out of here because I'm going to say hi to my guy.
Yeah, Ethan, buddy.
The DWI guys. He says, Maximus was entertained but not delusional. Ethan and Jeremy on my morning shows get all of my old movie references. I mean, anybody over 30 should get Are You Not Entertained? But that movie's old by now.
Now it's a classic.
He says, one bad pass from Wilson, but this one's not on him. He gave it to the end. It was just, it got off to a slow start. Whether it's we're up 10, give it away, and we're down 27 and come back. But it's like, shoot, you got to come back and make it close because you lose all your games close right now because that's where your team is. It's almost there, but not quite. And I'm going to dip out, Zach. What I've been saying all night is if there's any bright side, the brightest of bright sides of this team right now with these close losses is you're not that far away. I'm 3-10 far away. I'm not the Houston Texans total rebuild. Jacksonville Jaguars last year, where 5 wins next season is feeling like progress. The Detroit Lions, this team's not that far away from being a 500 or better competitive team. With that note, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for having me, y'all. I'll be in the background.
You the man. Zach, bro.
Yes.
Your gut reaction to what was a very entertaining game.
Yeah, it was.
Once you got 27-0, all of a sudden the Broncos are like, oh, wait a minute, there's a game to be played today. Let's turn it on. But what was your gut reaction to 14 consecutive losses to the Chiefs? Nothing can you call a moral victory, but it did give a lot of Broncos fans some hope seeing the offense produce and getting 28 points on the board.
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate Scott holding it down while I, had a couple issues I had to work through to hop on here. So hope you guys enjoyed the start of the pod so far. But, my gut after seeing this result was kind of like Scott was talking about, but the opposite to me. And like you hit on, Chad, there are no moral victories when it comes to any football game, in my opinion. They took him down to the wire. They played him close. And yeah, that might not be Houston necessarily or the old Cleveland Browns, just a perennial laughingstock, but even the Texans today should have, they took the Cowboys down to the wire. So parity reigns supreme in the NFL. You can go from being a basement dweller to a contender pretty much overnight if you have the right pieces in place. But just the fact they lost by a touchdown to the Chiefs, I'm not feeling overly positive about the result because the result is an L. They had multiple chances in that second half to take the lead, to put the game away even, Chad. Momentum was on their side, and they couldn't do it. My biggest fear, though, the Broncos showing fight in this game, and they did. It was their Super Bowl for sure. Does that do anything to secure Nathaniel Hackett's job, reinforce Hackett's job security? If it doesn't, I see Scott shaking his head. I'm okay with it. I'm not advocating for him to lose his job, but I don't want one single-digit loss to Kansas City to wash away all of the bad taste from this season.
Yeah, I don't think there's even if the Broncos would have beat the Chiefs tonight, I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is saving his job. There's just too much water under that bridge. F.A., bro, throwing down. Thank you, my dog. He says, what a game, guys. We are very close to the Chiefs. Just can't get over the hump. We scored 28 points, and defense craps the bed. Oh, well. I don't know, man. I feel you. Like, I was a little bit harsh on the Broncos defense last week for collapsing when they needed that stop. I don't know, Zach, if I would probably be a little less forgiving of the Broncos defense tonight, not getting the Chiefs off the field on that final possession. If I knew Russell Wilson was waiting on the sideline to get his chance, I would have believed they could have driven down and gotten something. But Brett Rypien, I mean, hey, hope springs eternal. Never say never. You never know for sure. But Brett Rypien wasn't going to be putting a team on his back and, 2 minutes left to go, maybe one timeout left, however it was shaken out, drive the Broncos down to pay dirt. I mean, that dude was lucky he got the touchdown that he did in the red zone. Props to him for finding that and making it. But, that dude was like, eesh. Every time he dropped back, I was like, disaster is imminent.
Yeah, that's the difference between having, a championship caliber defense versus a very good defense. A championship caliber defense would have got Mahomes off the field one more time, would have forced a takeaway, a turnover, get the ball back to the offense. But as we've talked about for weeks, the Broncos are at a point, especially in this game, where they just can't weather the injuries. I mean, you have to play perfect against Kansas City to start, but when you spot them a 27-0 lead, it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole. And then you lose your starting quarterback. You're without so many players on offense and defense, and it just becomes an unwinnable test. I do think, though, to an extent, Kansas City played down a little bit to the Broncos. Maybe they took them for granted. I noticed that when they went up 6-0 in the first quarter, it felt like they thought, 6-0 is plenty. That's a big enough lead for us to have against the Broncos because they can't score points. I think they took the Broncos a little lightly, and the Broncos, to their credit, were up for this test.
When the pick six occurred, pardon me, it flashed to a shot of Travis Kelce on the bench. And, of course, he'd been on the bench, right? It was the defense making a play for the Chiefs. And it shows him just kind of like looking around like, hey, it's my birthday today or something. Like, this is just us. This is just the way it goes against the Broncos. Like, we've got it made in the shade. I think you're right. I think they slept a little bit on Denver. And look, drilling yourself a 27-0 hole to come back the way the Broncos did and force that to be a game in the second half, props to them. But once again, we're in the nobody saw that coming realm of things. We don't want that to be how the Broncos make any kind of an impact. That we don't want it to be like no one could have foreseen this. It needs to become just like it is for the Chiefs. Getting to 27 points, getting to 34 points, like that's matter of course. That's, hey, what'd you have for breakfast today? Like it's nothing. That's what the Chiefs do. And the Broncos today, they get to 28. It's their season high. It's the exception to the rule. I'm curious to see if they can build on it, but I'm not getting my hopes up because also, Zach, we got to see what comes of the Russell Wilson concussion in terms of protocol. Does he make it out in time to play next week? We'll see. Jonathan Peterson, thank you, bro. Coaching. Russ looked closer to his old self before the concussion. No doubt. He showed you, I think, Zach, what I was taking away from that in real time before he got hurt was there it is. Okay. We just need the right coach to extract that version of Russ on the reg. Hackett's not the guy to do it. Neither is Clint Kubiak.
I've noticed this since the second Raiders game. Russell Wilson, again, though, I have to preface it every time, he's not playing like what he's been paid, $245 million, but he's shown in recent games flashes, glimpses, hope, silver linings to his play that you can extrapolate to the future. I think it proved the last couple of weeks, if anything. It's not a high bar. He's not washed, in my opinion, based on what I've seen. He's not irreparably broken. You can fix him. You can, squeeze as much juice out of him if you have the right coaching around him. And he's showing that he still has some athleticism to him, his arms, his legs. And this is a guy, he has a concussion now, already came into the game with 2 previous injuries. I mean, he's been beaten and battered this year. If you keep him clean, keep him upright, and surround him with better coaching and talent to an extent, you can win with Russell Wilson. I think he's showing you that incrementally.
The brainstorm. Thanks, bud. He says Hackett used all 3 timeouts before 3 minutes left. Yeah, trying to get inside the mind of Nathaniel Hackett as it relates to clock and or game management. I don't know. I don't know why he did it the way he did it, but the Chiefs, they weren't getting off the field. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter, right? The Chiefs ground out the clock. That was that. George Fox, good to see you, buddy. He says, well, it turned out that we might have a team next year, but I agree. We still need a coach at the minimum. I would be more inclined to jump on that idea of, hey, this shows that we can really, really be something next year. If they can do it one more time, if they can show us something like this, in consecutive games, but we're in another situation where I believe that when I see it. And I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on what happened today. It was really cool. Man, it was fun to see it become a game against the Chiefs. When it was 27-0, man, I had that sick feeling in my gut, oh man, Broncos are getting dragged out into the street by the worst possible opponent and just curb stomped, like Malachi crunched. This is going to be embarrassing. And they battled back. Pride can be a powerful thing, Zach.
Yeah, I still have a red spot on my arm where I pinched myself. The Broncos got over 20 points. It's like, where has this been the entire year? Why couldn't they have done this? I think to an extent, Russell Wilson playing better, the offense looking a little more explosive, especially Jerry Jeudy, because they have nothing to play for anymore. The pressure is off completely. The playoffs are a thing of the past. Pretty much everyone knows there's going to be massive changes after the season. They can just go out there and play football. And I think that's what Russell Wilson needs. What I've gathered from him, he's a very cerebral type of person and player as well. And when something gets into that head, when he has a mental obstruction, as I think he's had this year, his play suffers. When he goes out there and the pressure is off, his play is better. And there was a couple other glimpses as well. Players like Greg Dulcich, Damari Mathis, I think, played really well today. There are building blocks for the future. And though this season was disappointing, it's not all terrible, like Scott was talking about, going forward in 23 and beyond.
It does make me kind of eliminate the thoughts of the nuclear option. Like the last 3 weeks, Zach, that's been a theme, and we've written a lot about it at milehighhuddle.com as far as fans want to know what Russ has been so bad and such a big disappointment that fans have wanted to know the details of realistically what are the Broncos' options of getting out of that contract and how soon could it be. Turns out, regardless of how he continues to play this season, their options are pretty limited. So it was really, really nice to see that today. It made me feel significantly more confident that the right coaching regime, little luck by way of the injury bug, next season, this could still be a quarterback that can make hay for you. Thank you, Phil. Good to see you, bro. He says, I can't imagine how good we could be with an O-line and a defense that in the final minutes could stop anyone. Hashtag MHH for life. You the man, bro. Go Broncos. But Zach, even if you get that stop, all right, Chiefs punt it, you're going to be pinned down somewhere. Best case scenario, 25-yard line, your own 25. Do you really see Brett Rypien leading the touchdown drive in that scenario? And you never say never, but like I would have been, if that had happened, or if it happened in an alternate universe, I would have been like the most surprised person in the world, because this isn't the New York Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen crazier things. Look at Kansas City beating the Broncos with Matt Moore as their quarterback. So I wouldn't, it's not a 100% chance they would have lost, but I put it probably somewhere in the 90s that Brett Rypien was not leading a game-winning drive against the Kansas City defense. And I think part of the reason why he had initial success when he came into the game is because Kansas City didn't game plan for him. They really didn't prepare for him to be under center for the Broncos. I don't know, but it's one thing to be proud of the way they played. It's one thing to, I guess, celebrate the fact that they only lost by a touchdown or 6 points, but their standard and expectation and goals shouldn't be to just lose by 6 points. It shouldn't be to, get to 500 and we can be some middling average team. That's not what Pat Bowlen laid before him for decades. I know since he's been gone, it's been pretty bad. The standard has fallen, but they have to shoot way upward. Even with the new head coach, even with a 34-year-old Russell Wilson, they have to still aim to be the best in the NFL, not just 500.
Verinder, what's up, bro? Thanks for being with us, my friend. It says, I actually felt good at the end of this game, way better than I expected. Best game for us this year. MHH for life, Broncos for life. Thank you, buddy. Hey, connect with us on Twitter, my dog. We want to keep in touch with you. Look at this. Top rope from across the pond. Ethan with a second super chat. Throwing down. Holy smokes, dude. That is unbelievable. You're blowing us away. Thank you, bro. Thank you. That's all we can say. You're helping us keep the lights on, my dog. He says 28 by 10. 28 to 10. I didn't think they would score 13. This game was more a testament to the players than the coaching. Agreed. Jeudy was balling and leaving KC their jocks on the field with his first move off the line. Nice to see him show some fire. Bro, that is on point. Thank you so much, Ethan. And you know what I really liked, Zach and Ethan, is seeing Russ getting fired up, dude. Like he was, it's like, hey, that neutral mindset thing, dude, are you an android? Are you a human being? Do you have emotions? Like, can you show some passion out there? We saw that today, not just in how he played, but like celebrating those touchdowns. It's like really good to see that. Encouraging. It's like, okay, turns out he is a human being.
He has a pulse after all.
Yep.
It's also encouraging to see fire from Jerry Jeudy, who when he bumped into the ref, I mean, he was beside himself. He thought he was flagged. It's good to see emotion at all from this Broncos team. It seems like they're very laissez-faire and very laid back and relaxed for a now 3-10 team. So yeah, I like seeing that. And in terms of Jerry Jeudy, this is why you don't move on from him just yet. This is why you don't trade him. This is why you don't cut him. This is why you actually invest in more snaps and catches and targets for Jerry Jeudy, because he hasn't even scraped his ceiling yet. And he can be something really explosive at the NFL level consistently. And we're seeing flashes of that every now and then.
Seriously though, Ethan, thank you, bro. We really, really appreciate you. That's so generous. And by the way, today, before we grab Dave, like very auspicious, because we're also celebrating Thursday night. Our last podcast was our 1000th episode of the Mile High Huddle podcast. 1000. Now, if you can get to 1000 reps on anything that you're trying to do professionally, you deserve some credit, right? You deserve some credit just for sticking through it and sticking with it. And for us, it's not so much trying to pat ourselves on the back for getting to 1000, and here we are. Like when we realized, oh my gosh, that was the 1000th episode. We didn't even realize till after it was published. We're like, oh yeah, that was 1000. We're just thinking about, gosh, man, what keeps this party rolling, what keeps these podcasts coming night after night after night, day after day, y'all. And so thank you very much, guys, for allowing us to continue doing this to the tune of what is today the 1001st episode or iteration of the pod. So love you guys. Thank you. Zach, we've been grinding, dude. It's been fun doing this with you, my dog.
Yeah, I'm sure your hearing's a lot worse than it was 1,000 episodes ago, because I've been screaming into this microphone opposite you all this time. But, like I DM'd you and I said, I love the ride we've been on together. And we've been on quite the experience, multiple companies and then merging and then working together and then building what I think is a pretty solid product for all the Broncos country. But it's all thanks to you guys, for real. We talk about it off camera all the time, how lucky, how fortunate, how blessed we are, and it's thanks to you. So here's to 1,000 and 1,000 more.
No lie. Dave from Georgia, a great member of our community. He is up there on the Mount Rushmore. He's saying it's nice to see Jerry Jeudy catch all of his targets, hashtag Broncos country. I think he missed one, but your point is not lost on us, big dog. I think he had 8 on 9 targets, but yeah, Jeudy had a day, and I was so happy for him. You know, shut out of the end zone all of last season, kind of been a forgotten guy in this just, I don't know what you want to call it, this crappy offense. The single biggest impact a wide receiver has made on a Bronco game, Zach, maybe since, I don't know, like you could go back to a couple of those games from Sutton's Pro Bowl campaign, but like this was a big baller, really needed it type of impact game from JJ.
I think it was 2019. Sutton had a 2-touchdown game against the Chargers, where the first touchdown he just mossed the cornerback in coverage. It might have been, like you said, the best game from a Broncos wide receiver in 3 years. Credit to JJ for that.
Deanna with another super. Thank you, my friend. Love you. Appreciate you. She says, Jeudy played great today. This felt like a win, not a loss. Go Broncos. And that's why, you know, we say, hey, there are no moral victories in football, but for a 3-9 team and a fan base of that 3-9 team that has been utterly deprived of anything for which to celebrate and get passionate about, and that it is a moral victory for fans today. You should feel some sort of encouragement and excitement and hope from this offense throwing down, and then the defense too. Like, I get it, they couldn't quite get the Chiefs off the field in the when the chips were down, and that's a bummer. And it's another example of kind of their Achilles heel this season is all these single score games. When the chips are down at the end, Broncos defense they'll make plays all game long, give you what you need. But when the chips are down, they just come up short. But still, I don't want to sell them short because they sacked Mahomes multiple times and 3 picks on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Josie Jewell looking like the coverage linebacker to end all coverage linebackers. What? So it was a complimentary performance. Both sides shared some complicity in the fact that they lost, but then also both sides, Zach, balling out at a prolific level in certain ways.
Interesting take from Deanna, because in week 2 against the Texans, the Broncos victory felt like a loss. Now a Broncos loss feels like a victory. Sports are funny that way. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take out of it. A lot of encouraging signs in a loss, though the end result is a loss, and you always want the victory. It would have been nice for the Broncos to get Mahomes off the field and for Brett Rypien to lead a game-winning drive. That didn't work out that way. I'd like to see what the defense can do if they weren't so banged up. I feel like maybe they would have got off the field if they had Randy Gregory, if they had Ronald Darby, if they had Caden Stearns, for example. Those players are foundational pieces of that defense, and it's tough playing without them. But maybe next game at Arrowhead, the Broncos get their revenge and end that streak finally.
Mm-hmm. Jess, what is up, bro? Thank you, buddy. Yes, Russ showing his toughness, get healthy. I think he earned back some goodwill from Broncos fans, just seeing him throw down the way he did. And then the way he exited the game was on a big baller, had to have it. Was that 4th down? Or was it a 4th down play? I'm going to go back to it because I was just there real quick. Hang with me for 1 second. So the play that Russ gets hurt on, where he actually picks up the first down, that was on 3rd and 11 after the Broncos, due to some penalties, were facing a 2nd and 34 from the KC 39. He picks up 14 of those yards he picks up 23 of those yards with that shot to Dulcich, and then he picks up what was needed to move the chains on 3rd and 11. He gets 14, and then he gets hurt. So that, Zach, punctuated what I think Broncos fans have been dying to see. Just give us any signs of life. Like, Russ has been every bit as bad as the Drew Locks of recent Broncos canon, of the Teddy Bridgewaters, of the Joe Flaccos, and the Brandon Allens, and the Simeons and Lynch. Like, he's been every bit as bad as those guys, and fans are going, look, give us one reason to believe that this is like, this can change, that there's some hope, because we know we're tied to you. Please give us some indication that you are not an albatross that is going to drown us into the ocean, right? We're trying to fly and you're dragging us down to the Mariana Trench. This was, I think, that game that gave fans that feeling like, okay, all right, this season's in the books, but we might still be okay with Russ.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone questioned Russ's toughness before this game. Obviously, that question should be removed. He loves the game of football. You could say what you want about him as a personality, his media hits, how corny he is, robotic, whatever, but he's a tough guy. Last year he snapped that starting streak and he had that mallet finger injury. He came back like 4 or 5 weeks early because he didn't want to be missing from action. He wanted to help his team win. So yeah, him showing more fire, showing more fight, and him showing better as a quarterback leads hope to the Broncos. And it's tough to see right now, but maybe a year from now, we think to ourselves, you know what? 2022 was a wash, but there were positive things being laid down that we didn't realize back then. And now that we have the right coach, God willing, we're experiencing the victories, not the losses.
I think about this. Scott brings up a point here in the chat on Jerry Jeudy real quick. Going into this game, he had 3 touchdowns this season. Now he has 6. That's how many touchdowns, if you can remember, Cortland Sutton put on the board in his Pro Bowl year. So, like, Jerry Jeudy, I hope you can use this to keep building some momentum because he produced, let's see, Zach, he produced today, yardage-wise, 73 yards, and he went into this game with 514. So he's over 600 yards receiving. He has a chance if, and this is a big caveat, Zach, if Jerry Jeudy can kind of maintain this kind of a pace through the rest of this season, he might get to 1,000 yards and he might break his career high, which came as a rookie, 856 yards receiving. That's neither here nor there. FA, what's up, bro? Thank you. Holy cow. This game, he says, was fluky. Wilson's pick 6, then the crazy TD pass by Mahomes. Oh, well, I guess when you're having a bad season, you don't get those breaks. And can we get a backup in case Russ goes down? I'm done with Rypien. Yeah, Rypien is showing you, Zach, the limitations are serious.
Yeah, and it makes no difference now because he's gone, but I feel like if the Broncos had Josh Johnson as the number 2 and he had to leave, if they would have gotten Casey off the field, I'm more comfortable with Johnson leading a potential game-winning drive than I would be Brett Rypien. He's just a future head coach or OC, whatever, quarterback's coach. He's not cut out to be a long-term number 2. Heck, start, or make Jared Guarantano the number 2. Maybe he has some more upside. They have to find a younger guy that can at least provide some explosion from the position.
Tom, good to see you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. We've missed you. Hope you've been around. I'm sure you have been. He says, I'm proud of the team. They could have quit when it was 27-0. Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons, he says, are bad. Simmons talks a good game, but has not played it in a while. Restructure him or trade. Yeah, Simmons he's given you like 2 solid games this year. And other than that, he's been kind of background safety guy and often on the losing end of some big plays. Like he's earning back the moniker I gave him back in the day, which was Justin Almost Simmons. So I don't know. I think he's as much a victim of the collective just bad juju this Broncos squad has this year. I'm not really jumping to any conclusions on Simmons. I still think he is one of the best players on the team.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. Him having Kareem Jackson opposite him is hurting Justin Simmons because Caden Stearns, I'd love to see what Stearns and Simmons can do on a full-time basis, but it's also Simmons not being this top 2 safety like a lot of fans regard him to be. I agree with you. He's a very, very good player, top 10 safety for sure, top 8, whatever, but he's getting paid a lot of money, and more often than not, he's making business decisions out there with arm tackles or he's out of position and coverage. He is not the game-changing safety a lot of people make him out to be, but still a very, very good player.
DeAngelis, it's good to see you, bro. Thank you for the stars. Hope you've been well. Wero in the house. Good to see you as well, my friend. And thank you for the super. He says, I'm not convinced that firing Hackett changes anything. If we had a good O-line, we'd win a lot more games and Hackett wouldn't be on the hot seat. Oh, well. I feel you that, we don't know necessarily what the limits of having as bad of an O-line as the Broncos have could be. Like if you flip that around, you got a healthy Bulls all year. You got Glasgow at center for you all year. You got a healthy Reisner all year. Miner's healthy all year. And let's say Cam Fleming, holding it down for you solid. You don't know what that's cost you not having that. But I'm telling you, my friend, do not look past just how bad the coaching snafus and coaching incompetence has been this season. Like, it's on a whole other level, whole other magnitude for Nathaniel Hackett, and he'll ultimately have to answer for that. Like, he's been worse. Like, forget the Josh McDaniels trading away Jay Cutler thing and doing dumb stuff in the draft, and forget about how he embarrassed the team in multiple ways, not the least of which was getting busted cheating. Forget that for a second. And just based on what happened on the field, I argue easily with what he had, Hackett has been worse. Hackett has been worse than the coach that most fans going into this season excoriated Zach as the worst head coach in Broncos history. Hackett, much more likable guy than Josh McDaniels. That I'll give him. I mean, all day long and thrice on Sunday, but a worse X's and O's guy, manager, leader of men, keeping it all together, minding the P's and Q's. He doesn't get a pass because the O-line has had some injury problems. Plus, he hired Butch Berry,
Exactly.
who's half the reason why the unit sucks as bad as it does.
Exactly. I mean, he brought aboard Butch Berry. He brought aboard Justin Outten. He brought aboard, Clint. He made all these hires and all these personnel decisions. That falls on him. And, we're, I think, past the point now. We've evolved to where we can say it's not all Russell Wilson. It's not all Nathaniel Hackett. It's not all the O-line. It's a combination of those things. But when you boil it down, explain to me, if you will, Brock Purdy in San Francisco. Explain to me, if you will, God, I had one more example. I just shorted it. I can't believe it. Jared Goff, in Detroit. I mean, they blew the doors off Minnesota today. Jared Goff, and their talent level isn't that good aside from Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift on Detroit's offense. My point in saying all this once again, and we flashed it earlier, coaching. It really makes all the difference. And beyond that, Chad, beyond Hackett as a head coach, beyond Hackett as an OC, beyond the X's and O's, he is not a true leader. He is not a tactician. He is not a master motivator. He's not a Mike Tomlin or a John Harbaugh. He really has no role and no voice, and I don't think a lot of respect around Dove Valley. Yeah, players enjoy having him around because he makes the environment so chill and so carefree. He's everyone's friend. That's not what this Broncos team needed. They need a true alpha out there, a true leader of men. And that's where it falls short too. The off the field stuff, the intangibles from your head coach. Same thing we killed Vic Fangio for. Same thing we killed VJ for. They have to find a coach who puts it all together beyond just what you see on the field.
Gary, hang tight one sec. Your point about coaching and the difference it makes. Everyone's pining for Sean Payton by and large, right? Broncos country is going, man, especially after last week. He made it clear on the Tom Brady podcast, like he wants to come back. He's looking for the right coaching. Gary, love you, big dog. A little hope. We'll see, big dog, but I love you. Thank you for the super chat. You're a legend. Zach, remember when Sean Payton had to serve that season of suspension without pay for the whole Bounty Gate thing, right? 2012. Well, I want to remind everybody real quick, up to that point, okay, from 2009, the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, that year they went 13-2, won it all. Next year they went 11-5. The next year they went 13-3, and then 2012, Payton had to step aside and was not the coach for the Saints that year. They went 7-9 without him. He comes back, they go 11-5. Coaching, it really is like the guy at the very top. It's, if you have it, then all things are possible, especially if you have the quarterback in combination. You don't have it, the whole house of cards comes crumbling down really, really fast. Corey, thank you, bro. Appreciate the super. Good to see you. Another one of our longtime super chat superstars. He says, Hackett needs to come out and say, that is how we're going to play on offense the rest of the way. Same style and urgency and rhythm. Any chance he has of keeping his job would come down to this being the standard. I agree. If you got that version of Broncos offense, 4 quarters a game from here on out, Hackett might convince ownership not to cut him. But that's about the only thing that you could, that and winning every game from here on out, which it's still not going to get you into the playoffs, but that might be the only thing.
But you can't have it both ways. He's not calling plays anymore. So if they were to keep this up, it would help maybe Clint Kubiak's job security, but maybe not Nathaniel Hackett, because he's a eunuch on the sideline. He does nothing. He stands there and I guess he supervises and he listens into the play call, but he's not actively involved in making the play calling. He's not actively involved in what you saw today. I think the offense has looked better a little bit under Clint Kubiak, but if you already took away his play calling duties, I already talked about him not really doing anything overly well aside from that, then what is the point of keeping him around? And can we not act like they beat Kansas City today? They still lost the game. And that's why I was saying to you, moral victories mean nothing when you have to take a step back and still see the team in the same light as you saw them yesterday. They are 3-10 right now. That's not good.
Yep. That's
the bottom line.
2010. That's 2010 Broncos caliber when they earned the second overall pick. I'll remind everybody, they finished that 2010 season 4-12, and at bottom Von Miller, who helped change the fate of the franchise, thank the football gods. But that's how bad this season is going. I mean, they're gifting the Seahawks what could end up being a top 3 draft pick.
Hate it.
Mike Likens, thank you for the stars, my dog. Really appreciate you, buddy. Good to see you. Deanna, wow, throwing down again. Thank you so much. By the way, did you get your jersey yet? And if so, send us a selfie. All right. She says, love all you guys. We still need a new coach and offensive line. Hashtag MHH for life. Yeah. You know, again, back on the O-line thing real quick. It's bad enough that you hired Butch Berry, but you had the opportunity to retain Mike Munchak. And I get it, up to that point, Munchak, at least in his tenure in Denver that lasted 3 years under Fangio, he hadn't been a huge monumental, like, turn the ship around for the O-line, but he had some skins on the wall. He had the turnaround of Garrett Bowles. Dalton Reisner's best play came under Mike Munchak, and he was just considered to be one of the most competent, revered O-line coaches in the league. And I get that his forte, Zach, is not necessarily the wide zone thing, the zone blocking thing, but he's one of the smartest guys to coach the game at that position ever. He's in the Hall of Fame as a player on the offensive line. I think you could probably feel pretty safe about him teaching that kind of scheme if that's what you wanted to implement. He's not the offensive coordinator. He was the O-line coach. That means he does what he's told to do. So if you tell him this is what we're doing, he would coach the hell out of it to the best of his ability. You sent him packing for a guy named Butch Berry that has presided over easily the worst Broncos O-line I've seen in the new century. You know, seriously, like, I know a lot of that has to do with the injury bug, but Zach, make no bones about it. This O-line, it's very much a reflection of Butch Berry. And this is his first gig as an actual O-line, individual O-line coach in the league. He's been an assistant to an assistant at all his other previous stops.
Yeah, you traded in a used Ferrari for a new Kia. It's what the Broncos did, going from Munchak to Butch Berry. That's a cronyism hire by Nathaniel Hackett, if I ever saw it. And again, that's on coaching. Butch Berry deserves to be fired if and when Hackett does get fired as well. But it's also a talent issue. Cushenberry's not an NFL starter. Dalton Reisner, to me, is not an NFL caliber starter. Billy Turner on the right side, or Tom Compton, or Cam Fleming, Calvin Anderson, none of those guys are full, long-term caliber starters at the NFL level. And I've seen enough already, by the way, of the Luke Wattenberg left guard experiment. Keep him at center, if anything. I'm much higher on Natani Muti there. But yeah, I'm looking for at least 3 new starters on the O-line and a new OL coach this coming offseason.
Dalton Reisner is not happy he hasn't received an offer yet to stay in Denver. I don't think he's going to get one. He might, but they're going to let him test the market first, in all likelihood. Robert Otteson, bro, thank you, buddy. He says, love from Nevada. Feel better about next year, MHH. Yeah, you know, there's hope. Hope springs eternal. Hope is rekindled. You know, it's like on Lord of the Rings when they light the towers, dude, in Return of the King, and Gandalf says hope is rekindled. That's what that was today. Is Russ, you know, he got the towers lit up so that the what is it, the Rohans, what is it, the horse lords of Rohan of the Mark or whatever could see that, oh, we're going to war. Got it. Hope springs eternal. DWI Ethan, bro, going off. Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
He says, I loved Mike Purcell getting the run at the goal line, even though it was called back for a penalty. Did you see the defender try to knock the ball out of his hands after he scored? And it's just like, and he's like, just get away from me. Yeah, dude. Dude, Mike Purcell has earned a lot of credit back from me anyway this season. Like he's showing his heart, he's showing his versatility, he's showing that he's a lunch pail guy, utility guy that can do a lot of different things. Might not be great, but he's there and he's going to give it his all. I really like Mike Purcell. Got to tell you.
Yeah, very well said. 100% agree. There's always a spot in my locker room for a player like Mike Purcell. Really good against the run. He's never going to be Aaron Donald, but you don't expect that. A lot of fire, a lot of accountability he shows, a lot of passion. Just an overall football player. I'm with you. He earned a lot of credit back in my book.
We're about out of time, guys. We got to keep tonight relatively short. I got some things cooking. Sorry to say, we got to keep it pretty right on the 1 hour mark. Naj throwing down. Thank you, buddy. He says, hopefully we can build on this and Russ can recover and get back healthy soon. 3-10 is something I never could have imagined, but it's been all about hope for me. Today gave me a glimmer of hope. A new coach will help. Yeah, dude, you're, as Scott mentioned earlier, you're one of the most optimistic dudes I've ever met, especially relative to the Denver Broncos. And that's saying something with how bad and dark things have been in Bronco land dating back to 2016. But, bro, he did give you a little something to root for today. He gave you a little something to hang your hat on. Russ, I think, telegraphed today that, hey, the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. And I think that should send a message of encouragement also to the Walton Penner Group, Zach. But it further reinforces that we got to get this dude some help on the coaching level. We got to get him the right coach because this is the ceiling. What you're seeing is moral victories is the ceiling with Nathaniel Hackett as your head coach.
Man, you and I, you can tell we've been doing this for 1,000 episodes. We're so like-minded sometimes, Chad. My point to this comment, Naj, I hate to be the wet blanket here. I agree with the premise. I love your optimism. It's not necessarily a new coach. It's the right coach. It's what we said last year after Fangio when we thought and we knew he was going to be fired. We said, oh, any coach is going to come in and the Broncos are going to be better with Drew Lock, rookie quarterback, whoever. It's got to be the right guy. And that's why I don't care so much about high ceiling. They got to get the floor pretty high for their head coach. So if it's Dan Quinn, I'm okay with that as head coach. If it's Frank Reich, I'm okay with that as long as they get that OC play calling higher down and find the perfect fit for Russell Wilson. That is the number one end goal.
The Brainstorm, another one tonight. Thanks, bro. He says, Broncos country, we're happy because we believe Russell Wilson, if he doesn't get hurt, is what he's saying here, could have won the game. Yeah, dude. How many swings at the plate I'm trying to remember. Did Rypien get, not counting the touchdown he threw? Well, we'll count it. Counting that possession where he cleaned up in the red zone and thankfully found Jeudy in the back of the end zone. Did he get 2 more possessions, right, before the Chiefs ground out the clock? So I'm with you with what we saw earlier in this game and the heart Russ showed. I would feel pretty good about his odds of finding a way, making a way to get one more touchdown on the board and winning that game if he had gotten the chance. Jess, thank you, buddy. He says, for giving us a place to vent, guys. Much love. Right back at you, bro. Warrow forgot about Butchberry. Hire, fire, Hackett. LOL. Dude, I get what you were trying to say, though, bro. Like, you know, it sucks that the Broncos hired a coach that has been as hated on. But the problem is he's earned it. Sucks, dude. Tom, when did Josie Jewell turn into Luke Kuechly? Haha, I know. Zach's like the most surprised dude on the planet to see that.
Yeah, talk about eating crow or buying credit back in my book. I'm never going to say he's the answer for 10 years. He's not Luke Kuechly. He's not Patrick Willis, but he is a captain. You know, he is a guy you want in your locker room, a guy you want on your defense. When he's on, Chad, he is really, really, really good. When he's not on, you see the coverage deficiencies. My biggest thing is upgrading opposite him, not upgrading on Josie. I wouldn't mind at all him being a linchpin in the middle of that defense.
I think Alex Singleton is a good fallback option to be the partner, but I'm with you. Like, Josie, find a way to do that every game. Not necessarily get 2 interceptions, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know. When I saw him doing today what he was doing, though, Zach, also led the team in tackles, finished with 10 combined tackles. I was thinking to myself, man, I'm glad they've got him one more year under contract. Yeah. Deanna, thank you, my friend. A super sticker, throwing down. Very generous of you tonight. Love you. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good rest of the night, too. The Boogmeister throwing down. Man, we almost had it. I know. I am reminded, Zach, of so many almosts in the Mahomes era against the Broncos. That game where they were one. Case Keenum sailed past to Demaryius Thomas away from beating the Chiefs. Drew Lock got close on a couple of games. It was always like there have been a couple of blowouts, but none of these of the 14, only a few of them have been like just beatdown games where it's multi-score victories for the Chiefs. Like the Broncos always end up playing them close, but the Chiefs just have a way of getting their goat. I don't know what it is, man. It's bad.
It's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid versus whoever the Broncos have at quarterback and head coach. What's ironic, though, is they flexed this game out of primetime because they thought it was going to be ugly or boring or whatever. Turned out to be the most entertaining Broncos game of the season. So we'll take what small wins we can get from it.
Here's Deanna with another super sticker. This pair is having a good time leaving on a rocket or something. That's cool. The people watching can't see it if they're not on YouTube, but the people on YouTube can see it. But thank you so much, Deanna. Seriously. Love you. Appreciate you. Zach, before we say goodnight to people, any last observations? Because, of course, you got in a little bit late, some technical difficulties getting started or whatever, but is there anything we haven't talked about tonight that you wanted to jump on?
I think from my point of view, I've addressed how I feel about the game, my gut reaction after I have a chance to rewatch the game for the Aftermath episode tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a different opinion, but yeah, they played encouragingly. They played very well in some spurts. They showed more fight than all year and a lot of passion and grit and toughness, but the end result was still the end result. It was a loss. They came up short. They have to find a way to, as great as Mahomes is, he is beatable. The Bengals showed you that last week. They have to find a way to slay that dragon and that losing streak to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well said. Much love and respect to each and every one of you tonight. We're going to go through our rundown and get out of here for tonight. But keep your chin up, gang. This too shall pass. Hey, we got some hope for next year. We'll see what happens.
Russ isn't broke, guys. Russ is fixable. Yay. That was the MHH podcast, though. That was the gut reaction to the Broncos Week 14 loss to Kansas City. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us. If you want to follow us on Twitter, if you're not already, we're at the MHH Pod, the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch, you know what it is, where it is, huddleuppod.com, and get your merch on. If you haven't, please go to facebook.com/milehuddlepod. Be sure you're liking that page and following that page. If you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that sweet merch each and every month. But if anything, guys, please do 3 things. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans like David and all of y'all every single week.
Thank you, David. Thank you, buddy. Hey, yeah, small thing you guys can do. Make sure you hit the like button and sub before you head on out of here. Thank you for that reminder, David. A shout out to all our great Super Chat superstars and Facebook supporters this evening. Let's see. I got to get all the way back to the bottom. The Brainstorm, Michaela Israel. I forgot to give you a shout out early on. Thank you, my friend. John Peterson, Patriot Tex, Chris Hernandez, Deanna, the Lady D, right? The Lady D, BK, Patriot Tex. We got Patriot Tex, Naj, MacDog, Ethan, the DWI guys, Verinder, FA, Dave from Georgia, Jess, Tom, Wero, Gary Palmer, Corey H. Let's see, Robert Otteson, the Boogmeister checking in. And then, of course, as I mentioned, David Wilder. And then on Facebook, Jacob Foster, Eric Weber, Phil McLaughlin, Mike Likens, George Fox, Colby C. Collier, Alan Stark, Jeffrey Arellano, and DeAngelis Jones. Much love and respect, guys. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow night.
Have a great rest of your Sunday, guys. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.